All right, good. Then I would say let's start. Let's not lose more time. First of all, thanks everyone for being here today. I see that there are quite a lot of participants online, many familiar faces, which I'm happy with because it's, yeah, for MOBOTIX still a new thing with our new technology partner Irisity. From an organizational point of view, first of all, most of you will know in the meantime, after 1 year of webinars during Corona, there's a chat box where you can always put your questions. We will answer them right away or in the end, depending on what the question is, because in the end, we will also have 2 of our technical colleagues joining, so that you can ask whatever question you might have, and we will be happy to answer them. But okay, let's kick it off. Irisity and MOBOTIX. Last time we had a really successful webinar on the school guard, which is let's say quite a dedicated solution which we developed together, but we afterwards find out that we did not really bring the complete message what Irisity can deliver actually, and that's why I'm happy to have Liv online here today. Good morning, Liv.
Good morning.
To support with this webinar and show what Irisity is even more about. And with this, I would actually like to hand over to maybe do a quick pitch on what Irisity can bring to the MOBOTIX partners and to the end clients in the end. So yeah, feel free to start.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, and welcome also from my side to everyone. I know some of you have heard of Irisity, so I'm going to keep this brief. We are a originally Swedish company. We're based in Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden. It's a very rainy place, but also very beautiful. And well, we are a software company, so we have a focus on analytics software for video cameras, and in comparison to maybe a traditional CCTV system, we take our software, we connect it to any camera that you want to use, and then we can automatically detect when there's something happening in the image. And I think we have a video to illustrate that a little bit, so it's not just me talking here. So basically our focus is the detection of human activity in surveillance areas, right? And then under all kind of outdoor weather and light challenges. And you can choose to, for example, set specific surveillance zones in the area that you want to monitor with different things that you want to detect, people or flames or violent behavior, and then you can set specific schedules for each zones. So there's functionalities with this, and it really allows you to, well, monitor even large outdoor sites without this constant need of manual guarding. And I think that basically sums it up. So let me hand back to you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, like we said last time, we had the schools, and this time we want to focus a bit more on which other algorithms Irisity can deliver. This was, let's say, quite a fancy marketing video, but I can already promise that we also have some real life clips in the end that we are happy to show, taken from us, from our partners. So that's quite good. The main topic and the idea which I had is also to give it a little bit of a storyline. So let's, like we had the school last times, let's just give it a name and say, okay, we talk here about projects in critical infrastructure, maybe renewable energies. Let's think about solar parks. This is from a MOBOTIX point of view, wind parks, solar parks, one of the most leads that we receive in the last times, and I know that Irisity already did quite some let's say projects in this environment. So how are you approaching them, and what are the challenges for those customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting what you mention. I think solar parks, wind parks, all of that, it's essentially critical infrastructure, right? Which means that many people in our society depend on them. If it's a water plant, if it's a bridge, if it's a border, if these infrastructures have a security problem, then you could suddenly have, you know, power outages or unprotected perimeters or a stop of, let's say, water supply. And then that's going to create a problem for potentially hundreds or thousands of people. And that's why we need to have good security concepts. And I mean, there's really many ways that these places could get compromised or could get damaged. It could, of course, just be a natural problem. There could be a tree falling on a power line. It could be a storm damaging a wind turbine or something. But it could also be intentional damage. And we've seen a lot of people spraying graffiti, breaking into restricted areas and destroying things or setting fire. And that's, of course, not only a problem for the infrastructure, but also a risk to people's lives, right? Both the workers, but also the unauthorized people that are coming into these places and could get hurt. So our idea is we need a solution that is really quick to help people in these moments.
Yeah, indeed. I think those problems exist forever, and for a long time, security cameras are part of the solution. But maybe real quick from your side, what's the difference if we add the Irisity algorithms to this, let's say, traditional video surveillance?
Yeah, I mean, when we think about like traditional CCTV, we often have the situation where somebody is looking at a bunch of cameras at the same time and trying to figure out if something dangerous is happening, or maybe even looking at something that happened 3 days ago. So it's then really about forensics. But what you can do nowadays is that you have a software that does all the work for you in real time. So you set up your camera, you activate the Irisity video analytics for whatever you want to detect, people or vehicles, for example. And then you only have to react to the alarms that are coming in. So you're going alarm driven. You have alarms when something is really happening. And in that way, I think it's just a lot safer and more efficient than traditional CCTV. I think I can maybe give an example because you mentioned solar parks before. So a few years back, we worked together with a solar park. It was very remote. It was quite big. I think they had about 9,000 solar panels installed. And their problem is, you know, solar panels have quite a value today. People go in, they damage them, they steal these panels. And I mean, if we just imagine that one of these commercial solar panels is somewhere between 300 to 500 euros for this customer. So over the course of a year, they had to pay tens of thousands of euros just to replace these panels, and then not even calculating also the broken fences and the guarding services and so on. So what they had in place, they had a security solution, but it was a really outdated CCTV system, no name brand cameras, really, really basic analytics, which was just triggering on absolutely everything that was moving around there. It could be a chicken, a rabbit, a goat we had there, but also just light reflections or whatever. So this whole system was completely unusable for them. What they need is something that is reliable and that shows them when there actually is a person, and it shows that in real time so that they can immediately send a guard. And that's, I think it's quite a typical example of how we work and how I would recommend working with this kind of system.
Yeah, no, definitely that sounds good, and that actually already answered the first question that came in, where
Okay.
Lucian is asking, what about insects, which are, let's say, in front of the camera,
Yeah.
which are attracted by the lights of the infrared? I think, yeah, you already answered. This doesn't matter in the end for Irisity, and I think later on we also have quite a nice video that is showing that we really only focus on what is really interesting, meaning persons or cars or whatever can be there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's a challenge. We know it for analytics, right? You have big spiders crawling in front of the camera, bees and flies and so on. My honest opinion would be, as long as it's not a spider entirely covering the camera lens, then it's going to work, because the system has been trained for so long to understand what's a person and what's not. So give it a try.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, maybe we talked about the solar parks now, maybe 2-3 other areas where you use the algorithm already, maybe some success stories from your side to give, let's say some ideas to our partners.
Absolutely. I think what we have, for example, in the Nordics quite a lot are these kilometers of power lines running through the forest. So that's a very typical kind of long distance outdoor project where we install a camera only every few hundreds meters or 1 kilometer to really make it a lot more efficient how they can monitor this. And then, of course, a lot of perimeters, right? You have long fences, borders, walls that need to be protected. Basically, any type of outdoor installation where you need a camera system that can withstand any kind of weather and light conditions, which then, of course, is the MOBOTIX part, and then to have the accurate alarms. And sometimes it's really just about saving people's lives. It's not that much about the place, but it's about protecting people. I'm thinking actually about one case where that we recently had together, both MOBOTIX and Irisity, where the focus was on detecting when people at night are walking at the beach into the water, into the ocean, which could end up very badly. And I think that's a very good example where camera solutions can really help. I believe we have a clip of that, right?
Let me just show this video which we took there, and to give a little bit of a background, our partner and the end user actually was looking for this kind of solution for years. And let's say we always had problem with let's say the waves that you see in these clips. At water, you always, you know that you cannot use any infrared because of the reflections. And then with the traditional analytics that we applied, we had too many fails alarms in those for this specific problem. So we took the camera with a thermal sensor to be there during day and night, and to be able to detect people, because obviously the problems are during night when people are going into the water. And we had almost or absolutely no fails alarms there, with really reliable triggering when people were walking into the zones that were defined over here. And yeah, just maybe to add the distance to this person here, that's between 100 and 150 meter easily, and was always detected there. So quite an impressive case, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, any kind of, we know that any kind of movement in the image could be something that analytics system picks up on, right? And the key is, how good is the human detection? I mean, it's a good use case to try this out and challenge the system a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, to not only speak, let's also show some practical stuff. I will not go into too many details on the MOBOTIX side, because I believe most of the partners know what we stand for and what we can do. But especially when it comes to the Irisity applications, we actually found out that our original USPs are even stronger together. We saw this already in the schools. But also here, if you talk about the critical infrastructure where we have no access to the cameras, you as a partner and the end client can just not afford to do any kind of maintenance in those remote areas. We mentioned the power lines in woods and forests where no one can access them. Yeah, everyone knows that's not a problem for us, because the cameras just don't fail. But also what we saw there in the beach, that's a thermal sensor, and due to the modular setup, we can just use one camera, the Irisity algorithm, and it works because in the same camera we can put an ultra low light, a thermal, a day, a night, black and white, and the algorithm works everywhere. So that's yeah, I think quite a good match. And yeah, this slide was actually shown to me by Irisity, and it immediately triggered me because detections of humans up to 1 kilometer, this was actually really new for us. So if you place the cameras correctly, then you can even cover 2 kilometers with one pole, 2 cameras. That's quite impressive, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's as you say, we need the right cameras. And I can just vouch for that as well, that we have been using MOBOTIX cameras on purpose before our partnership here in Scandinavia, where, keep in mind, there's a bunch of rain and snow and fog and everything, and the customer needs a camera that survives for years in these kind of environments. And yes, we've done installations on up to 1 kilometer distance or with a pole, in both directions covering 2 kilometers. But I also have to say that this, of course, depends a lot on the environment and the location. So my recommendation would be in this case to look for places where you have a clear long distance view without anything blocking it, like trees, for example. And then, of course, to position the camera quite high up to have a really good angle on everything that you want to protect. And you will get the most accurate detections if the people in the image are at least 10 to 20 pixels high, which is quite small. But it's something to keep in mind when you choose the resolution of your camera, right? Higher resolution, higher possibility to go on long distance. And then these distances are absolutely possible, but I think a typical request is probably somewhere more between 150 to 400 meters, which are long distances. I think it's already pretty cool to do that with just one camera. Yeah, and then I think if we go even more into detail, I know there's some people here in the call that know exactly how to install cameras and what are the challenges. So I just want to say the light situation, right? That's a key for distances. So if you can think about kind of what type of customer you have, for example, if it's your goal to protect a long perimeter of some sort, do you need to use an optical camera? Or is it possible for you also to skip that one because it would require, lamps and lights every few meters to illuminate the whole area? Instead, you could maybe also use a thermal solution, because then you can skip the whole light installation, make it more cost efficient, and it's gonna work perfectly with this kind of analytics.
Yeah, and I'm actually really glad to hear, and also the thermal setups that we had, because first of all, the modular setup plays in our hands, we mentioned before, but also the fact that we are quite proud of the thermal technology that we have, and the really good results that we get also together with Irisity. But maybe one more point that maybe to our existing customers we need to point out, what is then there actually the difference between let's just say our activity sensor and the AI based video surveillance.
Yeah, I mean, AI sounds fancy, but it's in this, I mean, we know what it is in this security context, right? We work with deep learning neural network. So that's essentially a computer program that just keeps learning continuously. You feed it with information, it absorbs that information, it keeps learning and analyzing what's going on in camera images and so on. And the key is that we've been feeding the same kind of network for more than 15 years now. That means you have a huge database with all kind of weather and light conditions in the videos. And in that way, it becomes more and more and more stable to differentiate what's a person and what's, for example, a bug flying in front of a camera. And that's why I think the good thing nowadays is that if you choose to detect human activity, you can simply choose a camera, install the system, and it will work immediately. So you don't need to train on your specific location because it has been trained on so many locations. I hope that you can confirm that a little bit from your side.
Yeah, definitely. And that goes also in line with one of the questions that I just picked. Like I said, we can also take some on the spot where the customer is asking, how does the system adapt to relocation of the cameras? Does it need to be trained again? And how long does it take?
Oh, exactly. It would work immediately. So you can relocate. You can set new zones then, obviously, if you don't want to cover the whole image, but you want to cover specific zones, you can reset those. But the system does not need to be trained. It's going to work.
Yeah, quite smooth. I can confirm that from the projects that we already had together, and I can probably also show another nice video, and I will play it a few times, I think, and if you can maybe comment on this, because I believe most of the customers will not even see what's happening there.
No, it's time to put up the brightness on your screen and really zoom in, because this is a tricky one, and that's what I of course like to show, because it shows what the AI can do. If we look at this kind of image and you imagine you don't have a analytics system, I think it's pretty safe to say with our human eyes, we would miss that there's anybody walking there in the background. It's so dark. But because the computer system is a little bit smarter than we are and can see more things, it actually detected this person. It's a person walking their dog, and what's interesting also is that the alarm is not triggered on the dog, it's triggered on the person. And then you get this kind of alarm video 3 seconds before the alarm and 3 seconds after, more or less, total maybe 6 to 7 seconds video that you can look at and decide if you want to do something about it.
Yeah. No, that's actually really quite impressive in my opinion. But let me show one more clip actually, if I can. Okay, for some reason doesn't let me play right now, but it actually doesn't matter because that was the most easiest one anyhow. It was on an optical image where, yeah, we could show that it works everywhere. So you saw the night image there, you saw the thermal image on the beach before. So whatever situation you might have, it will work, and that's I think the beauty. Really the beauty with it. Oh, that one. Now it's there.
There it is.
It also shows a bit the setup, the possibilities that you have, because that's actually the backyard of our colleague Sarunas, who also wanted to test it. And the Irisity is running here on the optical. And you also saw here a bird flying through the image, which didn't trigger anything at all. But here actually, yeah, on the left hand side, maybe you can see this person walking here. That was actually the one triggering the event, even a few hundred meters in that specific problem. Okay, so let's maybe summarize a little bit on the areas that you are focusing on with the algorithm so far to give some ideas to our partners.
Yeah, I mean, you see it there. It's a wide range of application areas. Think of anything that's outdoor and large area, long distance, be it, as we showed so many times now, optical or thermal or whatever type of solution that you're looking for. Specifically, if it's an area and a time where you don't want anybody to be there, then it's the easiest use case to say, we don't have to monitor this manually. We can have a system that just checks if a person is walking into the area and we get an alarm.
Yeah.
That's the summary.
And the good thing is actually, or one of the other good things, which we showed in the school projects, where you were just able to combine different algorithms. So maybe you could also give some ideas on a solar park and a long perimeter detection. What else you could do?
Exactly. So we have a whole set of algorithms. We're not going to mention all of them, but you can combine them however you want in the camera. For example, if we think about long distance, it would make sense to have a loitering detection. If you have an area where people are allowed to walk around, let's say outside the solar park, but it would be suspicious if they stood around in one place for more than X minutes, let's say 10 minutes, right? They might be spraying graffiti, they might be spying. So for these cases, you can have a loitering detection. It only triggers after the amount of minutes that you've set, and then you can take a look what's going on. And then, of course, flame detection, I think it's quite clear. It detects fires, even on long distances, and especially outdoors as well, where a smoke detector might be difficult to use alone. So you can combine that in the same camera that you're using for everything else. I think we have one more video for that as well.
Video that I wanted to show, same setup as you can see. Saruna's backyard, but this one we actually had running for more than a week. From time to time, Saruna set some fires in his garden.
Don't do that.
We don't recommend it. You can ask for the video. But the beauty about that one is actually, like I said, the algorithm was running for a few days, and I think we only had 1 or 2 fails alarms in that thing. So you could imagine if there's someone with a white with a yellow or orange jacket coming, or a car, or an orange tree coming, or let's say going into the picture, there might be. There might be some fails alarms, but actually we only had like 1 or 2 during the whole week, which was quite impressive.
If you really want to challenge this system, you should do so now in autumn time, with all the orange and red trees and bushes moving around. It's a very mean thing for analytics, but it's the key that you train it for many years to understand: is it a flame or is it not?
Yeah. And you were saying you were training for many years. Most of our partners probably also read that there was an acquisition done by Irisity lately from Agent VI. So, acquired Agent VI, which is quite a known player in our business. What are you expecting there in the future?
Yeah, exciting times, of course. I think it's really cool to see that since we've acquired Agent VI, we have, of course, more products. We also have more expertise and more knowledge in kind of our portfolio. So there are a few new things that we can offer. If we talk about these same kind of long distance places, one thing that I think of is an anomaly detection, which basically detects anything that is abnormal in the image. And the good thing here, the interesting thing is it doesn't need to be trained beforehand, but it learns in the situation where it is, and it understands what is normal and what is not normal. For example, if it's watching train tracks for a few days and then suddenly a tree falls on it, right? It would understand that that's not normal. Or if a car is driving in the wrong direction on the highway or something like that. So that would trigger an alarm without you having to set a specific rule what you're looking for. It's just any kind of abnormality in the image. So very cool to see the next developments.
Interesting times, and let's say some more interesting times, because with this I cover, I think, I wouldn't say half of the questions in the chat box, but at least our partners, everyone is waiting for this statement now. Also, the developments with MOBOTIX are moving forward. So far, the setups that we did were not embedded in the camera, like we said in the beginning, and can be applied to existing projects also. But, and that's the question that most of you asked here, it will also be an app into our camera. The intrusion detection is the first one to come there with our autumn splash already, which is in the current and the beginning of the next month. And then we can also run this inside the camera on the edge. Yeah, but like this, we can wrap it up a little bit. There are exciting things to come between us. We have so many installations already where we show that this can be a perfect combination of MOBOTIX and the Iris algorithms, and just open too many doors, too many new ideas that we did not have without the AI touch before. And yeah, with this, I would actually like to ask the colleagues to turn on the camera. Sarunas and Victor are also there, looking a bit different than on the images. Victor is quite close.
Hello.
And also Sarunas is here. So yeah, let me just take, I would say, one question after the other. Some of them we already answered live, and some others we will put here now. Okay. First question came from Joost. What are the current classifiers? I think that goes a bit into the direction to Victor and goes in line a little bit with the next questions that was there. How can we distinguish if it's a people, a car, or is this something you can train to the algorithm and probably also trigger an alarm if a car comes and not only for persons?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I mean, as Liv showed in the beginning, the Irisity system knows quite a bit of what happens in the scene under the hood. So we constantly classify all the activity as being human, as being animal, vehicles, other kind of noise, or trees, and so on. The intrusion and the long-range detections from Irisity actually only in the end distinguish between human-propelled motion and noise. So even though we have this under the hood, we trigger alarms on all human-driven activities. So pedestrians, person on a bike, vehicles, anything like that. And this is really due to customer demand over the years. So even though we have had a few of these requests over the years, it's actually quite rare for us that this has been needed. We have, however, seen it in the enterprise installations, like a large security site with the security team on site, and there we can today turn to the Innovi offerings, which has a more fine-grained rule-based approach. So you can very flexibly set that I want to detect only when there are 3 people moving and they should be walking, but cars is all right, or I only want to detect buses, not trucks. So it's a little bit of a difference of the concept, but I think the great thing is that we can offer the full range nowadays.
Yeah, maybe one thing that I can add there from the experience with Irisity, we are currently also setting up a boat detection. Goes a little bit into line with the beach, because there it's again, we don't care about the salt and anything about on the seas, and then we can use the Irisity algorithm to actually trigger, and that's the goal of our customer there, trigger alarms if a boat comes close to the harbor or close to anything critical he has on the sea. So that's also an interesting application.
Yes, actually, beach example was very good because it shows immunity from the waves motion. and still can detect peoples near the beach.
Yeah, and that's also the next question, maybe for you, Sarunas, in the beach case. Which do you recall which field of view we used there in the camera?
Field of view, it's average. It's around, as I remember, 17 degrees. But first of all, it's only SIF resolution in thermal, and the distance from the camera location to the waterline is around 80 meters.
Yeah, good. Next question, also there for Victor, probably. Can you assign a unique ID for objects that are detected, like person and ID and the car?
Well, we continuously assign IDs and track individual objects that is moving across the image, and I mean, since the system is creating an alarm-driven flow, what we are really creating is alarms or events of interesting things that are happening. So if we have a zone and we have one person going in from the right and another person going in from the left, that would typically trigger two different alarms, one per object. So we definitely track the different objects, and we have a system both with zoning and with tracking the actual objects moving that can handle this and give an accurate view to an operator looking at this.
Yeah. Next one I can probably just take real quick. Can you confirm that the thermal image for human detection is also possible? Yes. That's, for example, what we saw on the beach. That was a thermal image detected the humans. And then the next one regarding the 10 to 20 pixel size, we are talking about the whole area of human or the height?
Yeah, so we're talking about the height of the object we want to detect. So the height of the human in this case. So I mean, we're talking somewhere probably 5 pixels per meter in an extreme case, and we would for really accurate classifications and robust differentiation between, for example, humans and larger animals, we would recommend around 10 pixels per meter to 20 pixels height of the human in the view.
Yeah. Talking about recommendations, next question, what the camera resolution does Irisity algorithm work with? Is there any limits when it comes to resolutions?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So as Liv and Samuel has shown during the webinar, is that one of the main focuses from Irisity for many years have been accurate detections in bad situations on long distances. And this actually means that we require quite few pixels on target. So we have even systems with very old thermal cameras that have something around let's say 200 by 100 pixels only on the thermal image, and it actually works quite well. More typical would be 320 by 240 for low resolution scenarios, or a more standard 640 by 480, or 720p or 1080p. But we're very flexible. So as long as we meet the minimal pixel requirements, the system will work very well.
Yeah, obviously, we go for our high quality. Next question was, and that's also a good one, what's the accuracy percentage for day and night?
Well, I think that's a very hard question to answer, but I think Samuel and Liv described this a little bit. We have very few false alarms in the intrusion and long range offerings. It's really a system that has been tuned for many years now, so it's very accurate.
Yeah.
I would say the main thing is immunity to noise, to the nighttime noise on the camera. Yeah, but of course, if you wanted to detect people, especially in visual, not thermal camera, you should have enough lighting to the camera image.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. next one, actually also a good one, referring a bit to the answer that you gave earlier, Victor. Can the metadata be collected and presented, for example, in a dashboard?
Yeah, that's also interesting, and a kind of difference in strategy between the Irisity Iris offering and the Agent VI Innovi offering. So in the under the Iris umbrella, we focus on really accurate detection. So we have several specialized algorithms. Today we're talking about the long-range offerings and flame and so on, but we also have really specialized ones like violent behavior detection or fall detection, for example. And what we produce is a stream of accurate events. In the Innovi system, it's actually built on a streaming metadata model. So you can, in that system, collect over time a lot of interesting metrics. You could do traffic analysis or people analysis, and you can even apply analytics for historic video data. So you can apply an intrusion detection type of rule for already pre-recorded data if you're looking for something in a forensic search scenario, which is very powerful. And we will, of course, over time merge these two product lines, and already today you can install them side by side and take advantage of the different functionalities of the two systems. But if you're looking for a kind of forensic search type of system, I would turn to either the Innovi system or go with MOBOTIX VMS systems as a complement to the Iris algorithms.
Yeah, for example, the hub, that's, we all know that there's a milestone, and that's a done integration already for Irisity, so that's also a good thing. Maybe one more question. We more or less deliberately did not go into too much focus on that one during the presentation, but maybe Victor can real quick explain a bit. Can you specify the hardware configurations? Is there a massive server needed, and how many cameras, or is it cloud? Maybe you can just show up the options there a little bit.
Sure. So I mean, the processing of the system is very flexible. So as Samuel mentioned, we are in the final stages of making the analysis possible to run embedded on the MOBOTIX 7 series cameras. So that's really interesting for us. For other cameras, we are looking at the server-based solution, and with the normal desktop PC, you can run around 20 cameras typically. So something you would buy cheaply off the shelf. So it's been optimized to run on quite cheap hardware. We also offer a cloud-based analytic solution. So as long as you can expose the camera's IP to the Irisity servers, we can take care of the processing off-site. So you don't need any extra hardware on the site.
Yeah, and that's also from our side kind of the beauty, because if customers are approaching us and say, okay, I have a project here where the MOBOTIX is running in a waste management, then we can just quite flexible set it up and send the alarms. That also goes a bit into the next questions, the alarm handling. I mentioned you can work with VMS, but in general you are quite flexible there as Irisity, right?
Absolutely. So I mean, we have a lot of installations using the Iris system end to end, really. So for everything from configuring the system, managing it, making sure that all the cameras are up and running, having health checks for the entire system, alarm distribution, and also alarm handling in real time. So you can use the Iris system end to end, really. But we also have quite a lot of integration points. So you can dispatch alarms to third-party system. It might be MX Hub, it might be other alarm handling systems. And of course, we know that larger customers typically already have something in place that they want to continue using.
Yeah, and then maybe two more really interesting questions that this can be answered positive way. How long does the object move in front of a camera to trigger the alarm?
Oh, that's an interesting one. So I mean, we track the movement in the entire field of view of the camera, and then we typically have an alarm zone where we do the actual triggering of the alarm. So when a person breaches the alarm zone perimeter, the detection is instant. So absolutely directly. We do, however, require to track the person in the view for a few frames to be able to accurately determine that this is actual human motion and not some noise. So if a person just appears in the frame, it will probably take a second or two before we get a detection.
Yeah. And that already answers the next question. So how many frames per second is required for the detection? You said just a few, right?
Yeah. So, but the FPS we recommend is 5 or 6 frames per second for accurate detection for high velocities. But that's enough.
Yeah. Okay, then I think we can more or less wrap it up with the last questions we used. Yes, so the boats can be classified at sea near the ports. Yes, they can. And we will reach out to you just afterwards. Definitely open to showcase this. To Martin, what is the best MOBOTIX thermal camera? I think we will also take this one offline. Depends, of course, a bit on the situation. And then the last one from Thijs, when is the app ready on the MOBOTIX 7 platform? It is quite soon. And Victor, I think you can confirm that right now we are in good stages for the app also.
Absolutely. So we're in the actual development of this is complete, and we are just testing everything and making sure it's 100% robust before together with MOBOTIX releasing it to the market. But it should be available quite soon.
Yes. So from our side, we more or less communicate the autumn splash, which is happening in a few weeks from now.
Yeah.
All right, good. Then thank you from my side. Thank you to Liv and Victor from Irisity. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the next one. Let's say a subject that we also discovered where we can work quite well together, seeing, let's say, certain GDPR problems with the anonymization and a lot of more things that Irisity can do. No date set yet, but I hope that all of you will come back, or most of you will come back, and we are definitely looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for everybody attending.
Thank you, everyone.
Cool. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.